Today I'm here at DC Pianos in Berkeley, California, and they're one of my absolute favorite piano stores to come visit in the United States. There's a number of various things that I love about this piano store. The people who work here are friendly, they have a really cool assortment of unique, interesting, quality pianos that you're free to come in and play whenever you want to. But one of my favorite things about this store is that they actually rebuild pianos, and not only that, they do a really good job of it as well. Every single piano that I've played that they've rebuilt, I have absolutely loved, which isn't easy to do. A piano is a really fickle instrument, and there's a lot of variables that have to be just right for a piano to be even good, never mind great. So the fact that DC Pianos is able to churn out so many great pianos is really, really impressive, and this here is definitely going to be one of them. In today's video, I figured I'd take you on a little bit of a tour and show you 4 of the pianos that DC Pianos is working on that are in various stages of being rebuilt, and I'm not really going to be playing them, I'm just going to be showing you some of the behind the scenes bits that I don't really talk about much on my channel, but this is a bit of a different side of the piano industry. This is the rebuilding side, and this is what makes, this is what goes into making a piano be great once again. Many people would take an old piano like this, this piano once was old, it once was in very bad condition, and most people would take a piano like that and put it out on the sidewalk and get rid of it for free, or even worse, throw it away in a landfill. But what DC Pianos does is they breathe new life back into these instruments by putting new strings, hammers, dampers, and other quality components back into the instruments. One thing that's particularly interesting about this piano here is that DC Pianos has decided to experiment a little bit and try out the Wessel nickel and gross action. This is the same sort of action that Mason & Hamlin uses in their pianos, and this exact action would be the same one that you'd find in a Mason & Hamlin Model 50. It's the only upright that Mason & Hamlin currently makes, and it's a very good piano. And it's also a very good action, which means that this piano will also be a very good piano when it's completed, and already I think it's very, very nice. From what I can tell, it has a very warm, powerful tone, even though it is an upright piano, and the action has a wonderful feel. When you put a lot of time and effort into regulating these just right, these Wessel nickel and gross actions can be very, very good, and when they're regulated well, they're honestly one of my favorites to play on. And this one here is no exception. It plays wonderfully. Just to give you a little demo, I'm going to play one chord. Keep it quiet because there's a person tuning the piano in the background, but it has a very nice sounds to it, and the piano is going to be awesome. As you can see, there are new strings. The entire register has had brand new strings. There's new hammers, there's new dampers, and the entire action has been replaced. However, DC Pianos is smart, and they don't replace the things that don't need to be replaced. For example, you'll see that the keys here are completely original. They might get around to cleaning them, but I'm not sure. It doesn't really need to be done, but they've left the original keys in here because they're perfectly good. And the soundboard in here is also completely original because it was perfectly good, and there's no need to replace a good soundboard, even if it is old. Now that is something that is a little bit interesting because I don't exactly know the age of this piano or even exactly what it is. It does say Steinway, so obviously it's a Steinway, but I don't know exactly what model it is. Steinway has made a few different uprights over the years. The tallest one is their Model K, but this one isn't quite that tall. One of their smaller models was the 1098, but this isn't quite that short, so it's somewhere in between. I believe I've heard of a Model Z upright that might be somewhere in between that, but if you guys have any idea of what exact model this is, please let me know. The serial number is 61576, if that helps you. So now let's move on and check out another piano that's a bit interesting. It's another upright that they're working on. It's a Julius Bluthner, and it doesn't even have an action in it, which is going to be kind of neat. So you'll really get to see the inside of a piano. It's been many years since I've showed you guys the inside of an upright piano on my channel. So let's go check that out. I hope you like it. So here's another piano that DC Pianos is working on rebuilding, and like I said, there's no action in it, so I'm definitely not going to be able to play this one. The action is actually on the other side of the room. One of the employees is working on rebuilding it, and it looks really great from here. It might be a new action, I'm not sure. But regardless, this is the remains, I suppose, of a Julius Bluthner upright that they're working on putting back together. As you can see, it has brand new strings and also brand new dampers, and they also removed the harp and refinished it, which they do on many of their upright pianos. So here you can kind of get a bit of an inside view of what an upright piano looks like, and you can really see the soundboard back there. One thing I noticed on some of these old Bluthners, is that there's actually screws that go into the soundboard, which I guess is how they mounted these ribs to the soundboard back in the day. I've seen that on Grands, and I'm also seeing it on this particular upright. When I first saw it, I thought it was some kind of a strange repair many years ago, but it actually seems to be the way that people mounted the ribs to the soundboard way back in the day. Again, this is another antique piano that DC Pianos is restoring and bringing new life back into. The case is actually very reminiscent of the Steinway, which you might be able to see just off camera over there, and you may have been able to see this one when I was talking about the Steinway. They're right next to each other. So this one here is really cool. They're working on easing the keys because some of the keys, the bushings are rather tight. This one here in particular does not like to go down and comes up very slowly, but they're working on fixing that, and when it's done, I absolutely am certain that it's going to be very, very wonderful, like all of their pianos they work on are. It's really beautiful too. I love the way it looks. It looks brand new when you look at it on the inside. It could be a brand new Bluthner that's rolled off of the factory floor. One thing I find really interesting is that over here in the treble, the strings are individually hitched in the traditional European fashion, which is really interesting. I didn't know they did that on uprights, but there is no aliquot stringing in this particular Bluthner upright. Did Bluthner ever put the aliquot strings in uprights? I don't know, but I do know they did it on most, if not all, of their Grands. So now let's go check out a couple more pianos that DC Pianos is working on. These ones are Grands, and one of them is particularly odd. Let's go check it out. There have been a lot of people on my YouTube channel who have wanted me to track down and review a square grand piano. I think I found one. I'm not sure, but it looks pretty square to me. No, I'm kidding. It's obviously not an antique square piano, but it is rather old and it is rather square shaped, so technically it is almost like a square grand that's had a bite taken out of it. Anyway, this is actually a customer's piano that someone has come into DC Pianos and said, hey, I have this piano, can you guys rebuild it for me? And that is exactly what DC Pianos has done here. And like with many of their other pianos that I've already showed you, it looks like they have resprayed the harp. If not, it's in very good condition, but I think they've resprayed the harp. They've got new strings and new dampers on it, and it looks like the hammers and action is original. Whether that's going to be replaced or not, I don't know. Maybe the customer didn't want it, but they are working on this piano, and it is in process of being completed, which is really interesting. And another interesting thing is just the piano in itself is so unusual. I've never seen one like this. On the harp there is a logo that says Brewster, New York. Is that the name of the piano company, or is that the name of the town where it's made? I'm not sure. But I've never seen a piano like this, and so I just thought I'd show you guys it because it's really unique. Let me show you a different angle of the inside so you guys can get a better idea of what it looks like. So this is a different angle of the unusual, odd, square, grand thingy, and it's just really unique. I love weird pianos and weird instruments in general, so this thing here really strikes a chord with me, pun intended. I really enjoy weird things like this. A couple of other things I wanted to mention is that not only is the shape of the whole piano kind of square, but the dampers are also really square shaped. A lot of the times with pianos, the dampers are kind of shaped like this. They have a hump in the middle. It's, I think, entirely aesthetic, but these ones are not. They're completely flat on the top, and the ends are just kind of like oblong cut off. So that's another really interesting thing about it, that the outside of the piano is square, the dampers are kind of square, so it's just really odd. If I had to put a date on the piano, I'd say probably the 20s, maybe the 30s. It's probably pretty old. The legs look like kind of from that time period. Maybe it's newer, maybe it's older. I really don't know. I know very little about the Brewster piano company. Also has new tuning pins. That's something else DC Pianos has added in, as well as brand new felts for everything. So DC Pianos, when they restore something, they do a very thorough job of it, and it's just really cool to see all the neat things that they're working on rebuilding. I have one more neat thing to show you that they're rebuilding, so let me go into another room and take you with me and show you that one. The final work-in-progress piano that I wanted to show you is this one here. This is a Knabe from an unknown era, but most likely a rather antique one. As you can see, this is the one I was referencing earlier that doesn't have like anything at all in it. There's no strings, there's no action, there's no hammers, there's no anything, so I can't really play anything at all on this one. The last one I forgot to mention, it was rather out of tune because it had new strings in it, and when you install new strings in a piano, they stretch out and they go out of tune very quickly. So when you put new strings in a piano, it has to be tuned quite a lot to stay in tune. people on the internet do not like out-of-tune pianos, so it was probably best I didn't play it anyway, but that's why I didn't play it. It was out of tune because it has brand new strings in it, and this one here will at some point get brand new strings in it as well. As you can see, it looks absolutely beautiful, and it honestly looks really like it's brand new. The soundboard has been refinished, a new logo has been put back on it. It's a very cool logo. I think I'll show you a close-up of it in a little bit here. The harp has been resprayed, there's been brand new felt in it, and when I was here earlier, they were putting in new A-graphs in it. There's a special tool here that I've never actually seen before, but this tool is used to install A-graphs. It has a little slot in the front, and that the A-graph goes in there, and you can put them back in and remove them with this tool, so that's kind of cool. Has a very nice feel to it. So they have a really great attention to detail here at DC Pianos. They go through literally everything and restore it and make it really great. Knabes, I've heard a lot of praise about Knabes, the antique ones, throughout my years. Many people like them, many people love them. They say that the Consagrans are actually rather similar to Steinways. They had a rather similar tone quality and are a very good alternative to a Steinway, and so that's really interesting. I wish it was fully restored so I could do a review of it. I haven't done too many reviews of antique Knabes, but that is what this is. This is, of course, not to be confused with the new Knabes that are being made, I believe, by Samick. They aren't terrible, at least the higher-end Knabes, but they aren't going to be the same quality that a hand-built and hand-restored Knabe like this would be. So here is a bit of a close-up of the Knabe logo. It actually looks really cool on the refinished soundboard. It looks really pretty, and it's a rather neat, kind of an old-style logo. It says on the top, since 1837, the world's best piano. That's what it says there on the logo, and it says Knabe in the center. It's a really, really cool logo, and unlike some manufacturers, Knabe still lets you put the logos back on their old pianos when you restore them. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this little tour of DC Pianos where I show you all of the things that they have in the works that are being worked on. It's really cool. It looks like it has a new pin block as well, so that's really neat. Like I said, the attention to detail is really, really great. They do such amazing work on everything here. It's really awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this little tour of DC Pianos. Not a whole lot of playing, but just a lot of talking about really neat pianos that are practically being remade. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you might want to go check out the rest of my channel if you're new and you haven't done that already. I do lots of reviews of pianos, keyboards, organs, and other neat instruments with keyboards attached to them. If you enjoyed that, you might want to go check out my channel. If you do that, you might want to think about subscribing. And if you do subscribe, well, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.